So Alex Hormozi posted this video a couple of days ago and he ended up deleting it. And if you're in business, if you consider yourself to be a serious entrepreneur, or if you have big goals with your business, that is something you literally cannot miss. And this video is going to perhaps change the way you think about business and the way you think about how you work. You see, in this video, Hormozi talked about how he's going to change the way that he's working. And he's going to shift from just grinding his way to the ground and following the mindset of go, 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 and never stop, to focusing more on things like his sleep, his recovery, his brain, giving his body what it needs. But why did he actually say that? Because for all those years, he was the main guy out there telling you to just don't sleep, just work. And all you should do is around working. Now, for a little bit of context, over the past 4 years, I've worked with over 300 millionaires, founders, executives, some of the world's most successful people, to help them operate better and optimize all aspects of their mental performance to become like mental athletes. And I've actually realized that there are three components that differentiate the non-successful people, the ones that are stuck, with the actual ones that are successful. And those things are your skills, your environment, and your brain or your health. Those things go hand in hand. Let me explain. You see, your skills mean that how competent are you in the different areas or domains of your business, such as marketing, sales, content, and all those different things. Your environment means your network, the people that you're surrounded by, masterminds, coaching programs or mentorships you have access to, and then again, the masterminds kind of thing. And then you have the thing that is running your business, which is your brain. All of those things feed into each other. If you have a sharper brain, you have more skills. You're able to conduct the skills that you know, the things that you know, better and faster. You're able to learn more. You're able to be more focused, be more creative. And then as a result, you expand your network because you grow, and therefore your circle grows, and those things feed into each other. And a lot of people are focused on the skills and the network and not so much about the things that operates the business, which is their brain. You see, when you are in a Hormozi's level, you are essentially competing in the Olympics of business. You are you're competing with the highest level mental athletes. I'm saying mental athletes because if you think about it, the thing, as I said multiple times, that runs your business, that allows you to make decisions, solve problems, perform under high stakes and stress, show up every day for your team, for your family, for the people that are following you, is your mind. The only thing that actually guides you to work and that you work with is your brain. So, and that's why Hormozi talked about this, because there was this post that he made once when he apparently slept good, and he makes those kinds of posts a lot of times when he had a great night of sleep, saying that, hey, today I feel like I can paint the Mona Lisa, or funny quotes like that. I know it's a funny quote and a joke, but this comes to show us how important, even for somebody like Hormozi, those things are, and they directly affect his stress threshold, his tolerance, his mood, his decision-making. And imagine having thousands of team members depending on your decisions. Imagine having to show up to meetings, to guide those people, to lead them, to show up as a leader, to solve big problems that are potentially going to cost tens of millions of dollars. It is really important for you to spend a lot of time sharpening the axe rather than just hitting the axe that is unsharpened 100 millions of times instead of hitting it a few times and you get the job done. Now, a lot of people will spend a lot of effort scaling their business and focusing on the skills in the network, as I said, trying to grow their business, trying to, in the trenches, do the work, following Hormozi's great advice, which is just to focus on getting the work done, because most people are essentially allergic to the boring things that work, and they just want shortcuts. They're just getting distracted with shiny objects, and as Hormozi says, they're distracted by the woman in the red dress. But he says you should focus on one thing and get great at this one thing, and you will eventually succeed. So most people try to do that. The problem is that Hormozi can get along or can get away with that because he is such a beast with the skills and his network as a result, and he can he compensates for the lack of focusing on brain and health with the abundance of skills and network. But for most of you watching this video, you literally cannot afford, you're not at his level, and you have to overcompensate with a super sharp and effective mind and mental performance in combination of doing as much as you can to get high in terms of the skills and your network. Because if you're wanting to perform, or if you're wanting to compete in the Olympics of business, in Hormozi's level, most of you watching this video right now are very ambitious. You have big goals for yourself and for your business. You want to succeed. You want to go to the next level. You want to go from like 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 figures and even more. If you're doing that, that means that you are, again, you're wanting to compete in the Olympics of business. And to do that, you have to take advantage of every single possible variable, every single possible component that affects your decision-making, your work output, your productivity, your focus, to get a competitive advantage. Think about the athletes out there, the physical athletes, right? Think about like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, all those people out there, Cristiano Ronaldo, all those great athletes, the top 0.1% athletes, even top 0.00001% athletes they have teams of doctors, teams of physiotherapists, teams of therapists, they have teams of nutritionists. They run very meticulous like screening and testing to analyze all the components of their health, all the components of their performance, their body, their recovery, to make sure that they're going to perform. Like they will take all their stats, essentially maximize each one of their stats to gain as much of a competitive advantage as possible. Because every single detail matters. The way that the athlete sleeps, the bed that he sleeps in, the temperature of his bedroom. All those things they are obsessed about because they know that they're going to give them a competitive edge. And they're going to outperform all the others that are not paying attention to those. So there is the version of, let's say, somebody with the skills and knowledge of Hormozi and the network of Hormozi, and then his brain, or the stat of brain and health is literally like 10%. And imagine you have that same exact person with same level of skills, same level of network, but the brain aspect, mental aspect is 90%, 95%. Who do you think is going to do better in business? Probably the second guy, because he's able to make faster decisions, he's sharper, he can perform under chaos and stress, he is always sharp, taking action, aggressive, focused, productive on the things that matters. And the truth is that if you maximize the components of your routine and lifestyle that will affect you to recover better and perform better when it's time to work, your skills will get better, so you'll know more about the stuff that you need to grow in the business, sales, marketing, content. You will essentially learn faster, be more creative, be able to like put in the work and focus on the things that move the needle forward, which will eventually make you even more successful. So the success you have once the mental performance aspect is optimized and dialed in, everything else compounds. You get more successful, you get more done in less time, you have higher work output, and as a result, you place yourself into more success, you surround yourself around more successful people, and you get more skills as a result, which gets you closer to more successful people. So that's like a never-ending success loop. Whereas if you're always stressed out, if you're always on the verge of burnout, well, there you're going to be capped by your work output and your mental capacity. Because even if you have the highest amount of skills and the highest amount of network, and you have a lot of leverage, you are, at the end of the day, the person making the key decisions and leading the people and showing up for your team and your family, and you are the core element of the business, the livelihood of the business, and the thing that running the business is your brain and your mental performance. So if your brain does not work and is not at the level that you should be in terms of the goals that you've set and the aspirations that you have and the ambitions that you have, you're eventually going to crash and burn out. And this is something that Hormozi understood. I mean, he did that podcast with Tony Robbins, and he unpacked a lot of those things around his mental and his overall performance and how this grind set is impacting his life. And now he posted the video after that podcast. He posted a video titled How I'm Shifting the Way That I'm Working, talking about this thing. So this is not a coincidence. And I can assure you that he's been focusing, like he had this in his mind. He knew that how important all those elements that affect your brain are, but he just didn't talk about them. And now he deleted the video because it goes against the brand that he so meticulously curated after tens of years. So a lot of his followers turned onto him because they essentially were followers, like they were a cult-like following of grind, 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 don't focus on anything else, all you should do is work. And now he's going against that, and that's the exact reason that he deleted the video, because it went against his brand. Even if it's one of the most valuable things that you will probably hear as an entrepreneur, he had to delete it unfortunately, because that's how world works. You make tens of thousands of videos and you provide multiple, like hundreds, millions worth of advice and value, but you make one thing that is slightly more controversial or in the eyes of his followers wrong, and he loses all the credit just like that. So unfortunately, this is how the hustle culture functions, and you have to stop kind of poisoning yourself, and you have to stop making yourself dumber and weaker following that mentality, because yes, it's something that will take you from step A to step B in the beginning. When you have nothing working for you and you have zero leverage, zero skills, you have to put in the work. But once you have more leverage and you have more at stake, you have big aspirations and you're a very ambitious person and you want to go to the next level from point B to point C, or from point B to point Z for that matter, it's really important for you to start enable that compound effect, because the main thing behind everything is your brain. You as a person are the one thing that runs the business, and you need to understand that, because a lot of people will just think that I just need to put in the work. But what if you sit behind the computer for 12 hours a day and the actual meaningful productive hours are 3 hours a day, 2 hours a day? Well, you're wasting your time that you could have better spent doing something else, spending time with your family, or doing something that is more productive for that matter. You're spending it behind the computer thinking that you're productive, and in reality you're just slaving away. If Hormozi, which is essentially the king of that mindset, and he's done it so successfully, I only have respect for Hormozi. If Hormozi said that, and if Hormozi is the person that you're following, that essentially guides your way of thinking about business, well, you also need to pay attention to the thing that he deleted, because he didn't delete it because he doesn't believe it. He deleted it because it went against his brand and he would lose money, essentially. So you need to pay attention to that, and you need to capitalize on his advice, because he actually told you that he's going to do that. And he's going to do that because he knows more than a lot of people, more than you perhaps. So why don't you acknowledge, why don't you take strategic, why don't you leverage that information and implement it for yourself? Because the truth is, you don't have to be making a billion a year, or 200 million a year, or 500 million a year to be able to focus on your brain and your recovery. I've seen a lot of people that I've worked with personally that were stuck in 10 to 50K a month, and they were making good money, but they were scattered, distracted, waking up tired, feeling lacking motivation to work, and they would just depend on stimulants and brute force to go through their day and then get their work done. And then we fixed their health, fixed their productivity, fixed all the systems that control their focus, productivity, mental performance, and they were able to just come up with better ideas, solve bigger problems in the business that they could not actually objectively see before, because they were in chronic survival mode, and they were just reactive instead of being proactive and sitting back and thinking like a big picture strategist. And as a result, most of them they were able to add at least 200K, 300K to millions a year in revenue as a result of fixing those bottlenecks that they weren't able to see before, because they were into that, you're always kind of falling behind on work, and you're always solving problems and solving fires, instead of being able to perform under chaos and perform under stress to solve million-dollar problems, to come up with crazy breakthroughs for your business to get to the next level. So, if Hormozi told you to do this, or if Hormozi told you that he's going to start doing this, why wouldn't you do it? Hormozi is telling you that he only cares about work, and you like that advice, you resonate with that advice, you do it. But why don't you do the things that he just deleted, that he uploaded a video and he deleted, because it's the secret sauce. So if you feel like that resonated with you, that means that you're probably paying attention to, it probably is important to you, things like your health, your brain, your recovery, your mental well-being. And if that's the case for you, I would like to let you know that I work one-on-one with founders and executives to help them operate better, optimize all aspects of their mental performance, energy, focus, and work output, so they can get to the next level in their business without burning out. So if you want to see my process and how it works and what I've done with hundreds of other founders and executives as an example, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see the process, and if it resonates, you can apply it to work one-on-one with me, where I can help you structure a system based on your biomarkers, on your goals in the business, on where you're at currently and what your brain and body needs to operate at the highest level possible to get you to your next level in life and business. So that being said, I'll leave you to it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was some food for thought for you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.